Hey, this is Murf at Murf_NFL of 5 Rush podcast and Fantasy Pros, and you're listening to the Dynasty Hotseat.
Yes, hello everybody. Welcome back once again to the Dynasty Hotseat. You guys know what it is. It's the only Dynasty show out there that's a certified inferno. And today it is my absolute pleasure to welcome in, one of the legends of the Dynasty game, sitting right opposite me here. Oh, wrong side. Sitting right opposite me over here. We've got Murf. You can find him at Murf_NFL. You can find him over at the 5 Rush podcast. You can find him writing articles at Fantasy Pros as well. You can even find his books scattered around the country. He's written a couple of books now on fantasy football. You've got the Fantasy Football Playbook. Currently working on another one as well, Murf, I believe.
Yeah, thanks so much for the warm intro. Legend is a strong word.
Absolutely.
It's better than reprobate, so I'll take that. The Fantasy Football Playbook 2022. So the third one currently in the works. I hope to have it out by June 1st, maybe sooner. You never know. Stay tuned to the Twitter machine and we'll give you updates. It's going to be just me this year, so less rookies, more strategy content involved for all forms of fantasy football. But yeah, it's a real blast writing it. It's catharsis. It makes me a better player doing it as well, and people actually buy it, which is strange because I kind of think the first year I put it together, I thought, well, if 5 people buy this, then that's a pretty good result. And Suggs and I were blown away, but we've been blown away by the support that we've had for it. And long may it continue. Hopefully I get to write a few more as well before too long.
Amazing. So make sure you're keeping your eyes peeled for that third book, which I'm sure will be absolutely fantastic. And Murf, you're here now to give us some hints and tips, and then sit in the hot seat for a mock draft. So we'll just kick things off right away with segment one, the art of war. It's your top tips for dynasty players, old, new, or anything in between.
Yeah, the first thing I do, and especially for UK listeners and UK audience, which I imagine the vast majority of them of this great show, is most players tend to pick up leagues online, right? So you end up joining a league where you probably haven't met the majority of the people that you're playing with, right? So it's almost like a cold room, almost like you're playing poker online kind of thing. So one of the ways to really get an edge is to start to understand the players in the room. And I don't think enough people do this. And I've talked about this in the past, and something I strongly advise is start conversations with people, get to know them a little bit. Who's their favorite team? Who are their favorite players? Understand, try and find some players and they've drafted before. If you've played in the league with them before, look at their draft results, look at who they tend to draft, look at their draft strategy, get a picture of each person, take like a piece of paper, put like 11 blocks or how many people in your team, and just write little notes on each one. If you're weak on one, go fish some information. I like to start group discussions, and this is probably giving away anyone that's played with me goes, oh, that's why he starts all these group discussions on silly questions. I do silly things like 2 lies, 1 truth, and it just comes up with some useful facts about how people think and it nuggets in them. So I recently, last year, joined a league with some analysts, Justin Boone of The Score, and Ian Hartis, Derek Brown of Now Fantasy Pros, and a few other folks, right? And obviously these people are quite well known, but before we did the draft, I looked at all of their rankings. I looked at where they ranked people. I looked at any nuggets of information, who they like, who they don't like, and then was thinking about where they would draft these players. And okay, I'm lucky that they're all analysts. They all publish all this information as I publish all them up. So I ended up getting a lot more than you would get. But just start by picking up teams and looking up at just at any previous draft info, if you've ever been with them, anything like that. I think it's just highly important. It will give you a small edge.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. And so that's a tactic, a couple of people have said. It's sort of the reason why, this this spawned the name The Art of War, the segment, because people kept quoting, that know your enemy, that seems to be a real common thing coming up. And I love that, your league with analysts, so you can literally have that information right there. But that's sneaky with the two lies and the truth. I'm gonna steal that one. I'm gonna do that in a couple of weeks.
Just any sort of group discussion, just I even take it further sometimes and put like fake information out there, like I'll start stirring the pot and say like, oh, it sounds like so and so might be getting traded. I put some fake news just to sort of be a bit of disruptor in there to just see how people panic and how they react and things like that. And you can also do that with trades as well. Just start offering trades on players that that they like, and just disrupt them a little bit. See if they counter. See if they don't counter. So that's the first one. Second one I recommend is just it. I think you've got to be very honest with your team. You've got to know like where you are at all times, but more importantly, end of season review. Do an end of season review on your roster. Look at it top to bottom and think, can that roster compete next year? And if it can't, that's fine. But just be honest with yourself and then think, what do I have to do to be a contender? Am I 2 pieces away? Am I 3 pieces away? Am I half a team away? Because that's going to influence what you do with your trades and also what you do with who you draft in rookie drafts. The thing that annoys me more than anything is when you get somebody who's not a contender and they'll draft a QB or they'll draft a running back in the first round of their rookie draft. I'm like, but what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? Because if you're doing that, you're just throwing away the opportunity to get better. Yeah, okay, running back, if you'll go, well, yeah, with a running back, it makes sense. You'll get better immediately. But if you're not going to win in the first couple of years, by the time that you get to where you got to get to, that player's gone. Whereas actually you could have got yourself a marquee wide receiver and got better there. And I think that's really important to understand. And like, I just want to pull this up that, done some research and also corroborated this with a few people I know. And looking at hit rates, so you take the NFL draft, I'm focusing here just on rookie drafts. If you take the history of, say, the last like 15 years worth of data, only 50% of QBs that are drafted in the first round of the NFL draft end up having a top 12 season.
Wow.
So it's not a huge, I mean, if you think so, half of them automatically go bust. So if you're drafting a QB when you're not in the position to win, it's a highly risky position to pick. Now, take the remaining 50%. So the 50% that do have that top 12 season, 40% of them end up only having that one top 12 season. They only do it once in a rookie year. Or end up doing it in their second year, but then they're done after that. So they only hit that top 12 mark once or maybe twice, but only in their first 2 years, and then nothing happens because the turnover at QB is so much greater now. There's not as many franchise quarterbacks as there sort of prehistorically was. So only 20% of the QBs that are ever selected in round 1 of the NFL draft have multiple top 12 seasons.
That's crazy.
In fantasy football. So why are you taking a high risk position like quarterback unless you're in that win now mode? Like people say, I'll build around the quarterback. If you took Trevor Lawrence last year with the 101, probably not the move you should have made. You should have made, if you were at the 101 and not going to contend, you should have taken, a Jamar Chase, for example. That pick is going to look much better for you long term than taking Trevor Lawrence. Sorry, excuse me. And running backs tend to run quite similar. So if you're taking, say, second round running backs, they tend to have a top 12 finish about 55% of the time. Slightly better than QBs, but not much. But 48% of that number never end up repeating that top 12 mark. So again, really short term. And that numbers, they differ as you go down. Third round running backs, top 12 finish 43% of the time. Only 40% of them do it once. So you're going to have that success. So the whole point of mentioning all these numbers is if you're not contending, use that first round pick, get yourself a franchise wide receiver, because that player is going to play at the highest level for 5, 7, 10 years. And if you picked Jamar Chase, if you picked Justin Jefferson, if you picked, anyone like that over the last couple of years, your team is now in great position to just continue to solidify and build going forward. And then when you're in a position to nearly win or contend, that's when you take the running back. That's when you take the quarterback.
Yeah, I think that is, advice. That's one of the first bits of advice I ever got whenever I started playing Dynasty. It's the running back position is like very flashy and very, you want that, quality running back. But, if you do something like you draft that high end running back, all you're going to do is get your team from last to mid-table. So you're actually long-term making yourself worse, because then you get a worse pick the next year. So it's just, you're kind of eating into your own assets by taking that running back, even though it might seem like the right thing to do. More often than not, it's probably not. So yeah, I love that tip for everyone listening. And you got one more for us, Murf?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that people struggle with, and this is more destined at new players, right, is it's actually understanding the game. So if you ever watch people that play in their first dynasty, or they play in their first few dynasty leagues, they either tend to treat it like a redraft and then just do nothing in the off season, and then they get very transactional with the waiver wire. They dump futures for currents, and they're dumping someone who could be a breakout wide receiver in year 2 for JD McKissick, because he's going to have 4 games where he could be a potential running back 2, because they've got no one else in their roster. Inversely, you've got people that take it almost the other way and just draft a load of young talent. So they just go completely young, just thinking, I'm going to have the best option just to be young for years, and pass on some real experienced players that will get them to compete now. And I think you've just got to think of the game as this balance of, it's not just about value, but it's thinking about the best time to pick players, and not treat it's a different game to redraft. Like, people just need to get out of that mindset of redraft is a different game. It's an entirely different game. It's like checkers and chess. They're different games. Don't approach them the same way. Inversely, loads of people that start up in a dynasty draft, they go really, really young, don't compete. Well, I'm not going to compete year 1, but maybe year 3, I'm going to be in a really good place. Most dynasty leagues die by year 2, because people don't get the game, and then people quit because they're not winning. And so that's the other aspect of it, is if you're in a startup, and especially with random people who you don't know, you've got to think of it as what I'd call like a redraft plus. It's don't bank on it lasting more than 2 years, and instead try and win now. Don't just stash loads of young players, and that's quite a cynical way to play the game, I suppose. But I think you've got to be a little bit careful. Too many people go too young in too many positions too often, and then get lumbered with just a bunch of guys instead of talent.
Yeah, I think that's definitely something I personally sort of struggled with at the start. You find out, it's dynasty, okay, so it's long term. It's like, so I'll take give me all the young guys. It's like, like Jalen Rager, yeah, great, I'll take it. Like any kind of people like that, and then 2 years down the line, you're like, but someone told me he was going to be really good, and he's not really. Like, there's so much more risk whenever you're really backing on those young guys. But then you have to have I love the analogy of chess and checkers, because we're also working with the draft board as well. We've got the board might look the same before you put the pieces on it. So I think that was a really good analogy of the difference between the two leagues, and getting that balance is arguably the trickiest thing in the entire game. And once you can get that right, you're rock and rolling, really.
100%. I think if you can master that, you're going to be competitive. Even in years where you might not have the best team, you'll still be competitive.
Yeah, 100% think so. So Murf, thank you so much for those 3 amazing tips. And now it's time for the moment the people have been waiting for. We're putting you in the hot seat. How are you feeling? Oh yeah, already.
Well, pressure's on.
Here we go. Segment number 2, the hot seat mock draft, coming right up. Okay, so here we are. Murf, firmly in the hot seat. Getting hot, getting warm. Yeah.
And I'm ginger, man. We don't do heat well. This, you're Irish.
It's going to be an absolute. I'm going to Barcelona in 2 weeks. It's going to be an absolute nightmare. I can tell you right away. It's like factor 50 stocks. Get them now.
Mate, send me your address. I'm going to send you some after sun right now.
No, honestly, it's actually in about 3 weeks' time, you'll see the next episode go up, and I'll just be beetroot. It is going to be an absolute disaster, but we got that to look forward to in a few weeks. But while we're here, we've got the same as always, everybody else. We've got a 12-team super flex, 18 rounds startup draft, and the first question for you, just like everyone else, is: in an ideal world, what position would you choose to start the draft in?
So in the Superflex, very different to a redraft. In Superflex, I definitely want one of those top 2 spots. I'm more than happy with 2, actually, to be honest. That for me is where, if I was picking, that's where I'd pick every time, because I absolutely have to have one of the top 2 quarterbacks. And I know Kev was on, he was talking about how happy he would be with Justin Herbert. And listen, I love Justin Herbert. I absolutely understand that, but I just think there's a class apart between what Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes are going to give you over the next 3 years than say what Justin Herbert or Jackson or Kyler Murray or anyone else is going to give you.
Yeah, so let's lock in that number 2 slot, and as you sort of alluded to there, we're going either Allen or Mahomes, whatever one appears.
I mean, Allen would be the pick no matter what. So if I was at the 1, I'd be taking Allen.
Well,
I
was gonna pause the draft, but I might not even need to pause it there because we got Josh Allen sitting there at number 2. Do you know, it does pain me because obviously I'm a Chiefs fan.
Yeah.
But I think Josh Allen's my quarterback 1 as well now in Dynasty. It's hard to argue.
Yeah, no, I very much Josh Allen here is it's an automatic pick for me. Yeah, he's my QB1 in my rankings. I'm very happy to take him over the next 5 years. Thanks a lot.
Perfect. Let's get Josh Allen locked in, as we imagine there'll be a stream of quarterbacks coming off the board, like Kyler and Lamar and people like Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson, as you expect, falling in the first round too. We got a bit of a wait coming back in towards the back end of the second round, as Christian McCaffrey going at the start of the second round, a real interesting player at this stage. And here we go. Round number 2, pick number 11, Kyle Pitts coming off there at pick 210. And right up at the top, we see Cooper Kupp, Deshaun Watson, Trevor Lawrence, along with a couple of running backs as well. So anyone standing out to you there, Murf?
I'm thinking about what might come back. I think for me, I'm looking at my board and thinking about who is highest up here now. It's a bit of gamesmanship here because I'm looking at these particular rankings versus where I have players ranked. So I'm quite, for example, where I've got rankings at the moment, my highest ranked wide receiver left who's still available is Cooper Kupp, who I have at 5 on my rankings. So he would be my pick here, with the view of looking to get one of those potential running backs on the next round, because I think Kupp has still got a few years and he will return better value for where he is at this pick. And I don't think he comes back, whereas at least I know I'll be getting one of those wide receivers, because I think for me, I've got Kupp and then Metcalf's next on my list, but there is a bit of a tier break there. So yeah, quite happy to take Kupp here, given the fact that whoever comes off the board at running back here, at least I know I'll be getting a very solid option.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get Cooper Kupp locked in, and the benefit now is we're right back on the board again really, really quickly, as Kamara and I think maybe Deshaun Watson was it came off the board there. So we got Trevor Lawrence, and then those running backs you talked about, you got Eckler and Chubb and Joe Mixon, Dobbins and Gibson towards the bottom as well. So who are you thinking?
So this might shock people. I actually have Mixon as my next highest ranked running back here. So I would have Mixon over Eckler. I think situationally and what's going to be available, I think Mixon is going to be good for the next few years. So give me Joe Mixon here. I'm delighted to get him in the 3rd round of a startup. Yeah,
Joe Mixon, I think certainly an underrated player. This past season, we were talking about sort of in your hints and tips. I was in a team, I was in no position to win, so I had it was an orphan team I picked up, and Joe Mixon was there. I was like, right, let me try and sell Joe Mixon. I'll need, I was asking to try and get sort of 2 firsts for Joe Mixon, a real solid running back, and I was called absolutely crazy for wanting that much, and I think that's not too far off a fair price for someone as good as Joe Mixon. So you got to be pretty pleased.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so let's get Joe Mixon locked in and see if anyone nice falls to us at the back end of the 4th. And we sort of set in place here a chain of running back picks. That's sort of a thing that we've talked about before, and some hints and tips people have said, set trends in the draft as well, and take these and you can set a trend of a running back run or a wide receiver run. And some people say it's good to follow them, some people say it's good to sort of zig when other people are zagging. So I just love all the intricacies of the game.
Absolutely. I think you've got to look at what's available, but then what's likely to happen in between your picks. And if you can force action, I think absolutely try and do it. But I think you've got to be realistic with where you are. So now this for me is a real inflection point in my draft, because I'm looking at the QBs here, and there has been a run on QBs.
I can show you just quarterback if you want to have a look at who else is there.
Let's have a look at who's left on the board at quarterback because I'll see if their
So,
rankings are different from mine. Yeah, that's what I mean. We're now at the point with quarterback. Now this is interesting because I can you show me team one?
yes,
See
of course.
who they've taken in the draft.
Yeah, so team number 1, I've got 2 quarterbacks. They got Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson.
So that's going to pivot me away. So I was thinking I might need to take Tua here, but it's unlikely they're going to take a quarterback here. So that gives me the opportunity to get ahead of that. So now I can think about going either running back or wide receiver. Derrick Henry here is a really interesting option. The age profile is going to worry people, but I think about him versus who's remaining tier wise. I just think that could be a really strong option for a win now team to try and get ahead. So I'm going to take Derrick Henry here because I don't think I expected to get him at the back end of the 4th.
Yeah, exactly. That is amazing value there. And just looking at the other running backs there, I mean, you obviously said Derrick Henry's got a question mark, but so does Cam Akers, so does Travis Etienne, so does Aaron Jones. So Derrick Henry, the best out of that group, definitely, I think. So let's hope quarterbacks don't fly off the board for team 1. Kelsey and Aaron Jones. Loving it.
So perfect. So we'll take Tua here. Because for me, he's head and shoulders above what's remaining. And I'm perfectly happy to have him as my QB2 on my team.
Yeah, Tua is certainly, I mean, he has to. How can you not take a step? You just got Tyreek Hill. He's going to take a massive step up. Pains me to see it. He's going to look weird in that Dolphins uniform at first, I think. But yeah, Tua is certainly due a big step up with Tyreek Hill.
But even if he doesn't, right? So let's just say you get 2021 Tua with a little bit extra. I mean, that's still not terrible. He's got a pretty safe floor. He's not going to bust you most weeks. In that super flex spot, he's going to do exactly what you need him to do. So yeah, I'm more than happy to take him. It seems to be in sort of drafts, in super flex drafts, seems to be getting a lot of Tua, which isn't by design. It just seems to be the way that the boards fold. So yeah, quite happy with that. Oh, this puts me in a really interesting spot.
Yeah, so we got a huge amount of sort of time. I like this part of the draft. There's everyone's kind of, it's almost personal choice at this stage, kind of with everyone here. You got Mike Evans up at the top, and Jerry Jeudy, a real interesting player. At this stage, obviously got a huge quarterback upgrade, and Amari Cooper as well, who's certainly looking like the guy over at Cleveland.
So this is really interesting because I might actually go against my rankings just by how I'm building this team. So my rankings here would tell me to take Jerry Jeudy. I actually have Jerry Jeudy a few spots ahead of Mike Evans, but there's just something about the team that it's being built with Josh Allen, with Derrick Henry, that I'm thinking, do you know what? We might have to just go all in for the first couple of years and give me that year of Mike Evans, Tom Brady. You can write it in pen, 1,000 yards, 10 touchdowns.
Yep.
I'm taking Mike Evans here. Come on, we're gonna go for the W year 1. I've decided.
Nice. Oh, I'm liking this already. So let's get Mike Evans absolutely locked in. And you're right. You just said before you picked Derrick Henry, you're like, oh, this is an important part because it kind of it's a bit of a fork in the road, and we've gone down the win right now road. So let's see what we can do. Is we get Mike Evans joining Derrick Henry and Josh Allen too. So what are you thinking now? We're thinking win now.
Yeah. So this is again, we've got to a really interesting part because we've got some players I really like. I was expecting Jeudy to come off the board, so that's fine. So I'm looking at the wide receivers on the board here, thinking, well, the next one I've got in my rankings. See, there's a bit of a drop here. Is Colin something? That can't be right. I'm seeing where I've got. Yeah, it is. So they're all in this tier together effectively in my rankings. So I've got Sutton at 31, Mike Williams at 34. Browns at 35. We're looking at QB. Don't want to go QB again just yet. Leonard Fournette's there, and he's priced quite low. Yeah, we're going to take Lenny. We're going to take playoff Lenny because I think he could be a second round pick in redraft this year. If we're turning it into a win now team, then
Yeah.
we have to go Leonard Fournette because I think he's going to give me the most bang for the buck here.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned these sort of second round pick in a redraft, and we're round 7 here, and we're looking to win right away. So that is fantastic value. So let's get Uncle Lenny put
Uncle
into the
Lenny's.
team. Yeah,
Come on, Larry.
I keep thinking Leonard Fournette is like 47 years old. He's like considerably younger than me. Like,
I know, it's ridiculous. Do you know what? When Leonard Fournette, I'm known quite famously for being a bit of a Leonard Fournette hater, and then I've changed obviously since he's come to Tampa and won a ring. But I just never felt that he was ever going to be that productive. And then we saw last season what amazing things he did, and now he's got even more opportunity to exceed those numbers. So it's an exciting time to see what he's going to do. All right, here we go.
Absolutely. So yeah, we're back on the board. We got Brandon Ayuk and Chase Claypool and Darnell Mooney as wide receivers. And then
I'm looking at the QBs here, and they're awful. I mean, the good thing is now. Yeah, go ahead.
So I will say, I think sometimes a sneaky QB or two does fall down. I was looking to see if Derek Carr was still there, but he has gone off because his ADP is shockingly low, I think. So yeah, not too much extra there for QB.
No, but Jameis is there.
Mm-hmm.
Tom's there. I mean, but Tom is a 1-year option. I mean, that.
Yeah. Is he? I heard that someone say that the other day. It's like, who says he doesn't play again the year after?
Well, no. I don't think he'd be in Tampa regardless. He could be if we're thinking win now, he's bang on to be a top 5 QB.
Mm-hmm.
Could punt the position. Next year's deep class, that's an interesting one. Do I wait around? So I'm looking at wide receiver. There's players here at the wide receiver position who I'm quite happy to take, but there are a bit of the one that screams out to me is probably Chase Claypool and Brandon Ayuk.
Yeah.
But even then, I'm quite happy to. I don't think both those guys come off here. Let's go ahead and take. Yeah, let's take Chase Claypool. So I have him in my ranks pretty high, even though I'm a bit questionable what's going to happen at QB. There's just not that many passing options in Pittsburgh, so I feel like he's going to get. Or do I want to go? Am I talking myself out of this? No, let's go with Claypool. And I tell you now, if Tom Brady falls in the next round, that's who we're going to take it. Because I think he will.
I think he will as well. I think let's get Claypool locked up, and I think with Claypool, he's going to get a quarterback upgrade compared to old Big Ben from last year, and anybody's going to be able to throw the ball downfield better than Ben was able to. So I think Claypool is a sneaky option here this year for any kind of new drafts happening for people. And Tom Brady, I don't think did come off there. So Tony Pollard and Darnell Mooney came off. No Tom.
Yeah, I'm happy with that. So yeah, let's take Tampa Tom as our QB3. We really are going all in now.
Yeah, I love it.
We got some pieces. We got some pieces for future years, but yeah, we're going to try and lock a championship in the first 2 years.
Yeah, and what's nice as well, if stuff does go in south as well, these players hold value still as well, so you would be able to be like, okay, right, I'll trade back, I'll trade out, give me some picks for these older guys. Like it's still an option. There's
name recognition on a lot of these players.
Yeah, but things won't go wrong because this team is winning year one. Guaranteed. That's I feel after every draft, I'm like, this is the best team in the league by far. And then 2 months into the year, I'm like, oh, what did I do?
I feel like Dynasty nerds are going to hate it because it's too much win now. Right, who are we going here? Oh, that would be so much fun. Oh, I'm looking at this now. This is interesting. Right, I'm excluding. Am I really excluding tight end? Yeah, I'm going to exclude tight end here at least because I know that team 1 have picked. So I reckon Dawson Knox falls in the 10th, in the 11th. Yep. So I'm going to hold D Knox for a round, but that will be who will be coming off the board after that because I'd rather have him than Kazicki. I'm not too worried about OJ Howard and what he's going to do. So it's a choice between. I definitely don't want Juju. I don't want Visca at all. Thielen's interesting in a win now team. He's going to hold absolutely no value after a year, but
I mean, people keep saying when's Thiel's touchdown regression going to come, and it never does.
Never come. It's just injuries. Is he going to play enough games? Do I actually need him to play 16 games to be viable? Is the question here. Plus, I've got a couple of players who I feel like are going to add. I don't even know where I've got Thielen in my ranks. I put him in somewhere.
Odell Beckham Jr. still there as well.
Yeah, a bit uncertainty with the ACL when he comes back and what team he's going to be on. I don't want Golladay. I'm looking at the wide receivers here. Thielen is the only one that really appeals to me, or CPAT. I'm thinking, well, we've got that utility option. He can play in both positions, but is he actually going to, if they draft a wide receiver there, or if they draft a running back there, he could be a bit limited. So, and we're good at running back, I think. Or are we? We've got three, have we, on the board?
Yeah, you got Mixon, Henry, and Uncle Lenny. So that's pretty strong.
Do you know what? Let's firm up and take CPAT here, because if we're thinking win now. Let's see. They've got no one in Atlanta to actually take offensive snaps. And he could be quarterback this year.
That would be revolutionizing every position he plays. He'd be tight end the year after.
There's no one. I think Kyle Pitts is no one there, so he's bound to get a lot of work. So we'll take CPAT as it stands right now, because I just feel like he's going to give me, and he's got that dual position flexibility. So
that is Dynasty gold as well. I was speaking to Evan Brown about that. I was like, could you imagine if they give that to Deebo Samuel?
Oh my god, it'd be mid first round, maybe. Easy.
So here we are, we're back, and as you predicted, Dawson Knox has gone nowhere in the tight end possession. You got, Mike Gesicki and Cole Kmet sitting there as well at tight end, as well as a whole sea of nice receivers popping up too.
Yeah, so in this case, Knox,
Dawson, and of course you got Josh Allen as well, so that ties in nicely, like a little 1-2 punch there. Nice stack with Allen and Dawson Knox. As we see who's flying off the board, Tyler Boyd and Mike Gesicki, as we thought might come off the board, does. And some people really stretching at quarterback there, taking Tyler Heineke in the 11th round too. Well, I suppose Wentz could have a stinker and he could step in, but bit of a risk for me.
Absolutely.
And we're almost back up on the board now in round number 12 at the end is Devin Singletary, who had a nice end to last season as well, comes off the board, and Kenny Gainwell. And here we are, back on the board. Kansas City's newest player, Ronald Jones, coming from your side to mine, up at the top of the list. And Will Fuller and Robbie Anderson there too, along with some interesting players. This is where it gets a bit murky, a bit tricky.
And for me, there's a clear player here that stands out. So Gabe Davis.
Again, you got that Josh Allen link, and Gabe Davis is, I think, Cole Beasley is out of town, right?
So he's gone, and so clear path to ascension there, and I think he's gonna be great.
Perfect. So let's lock in Gabriel Davis, and now this is quite nice. Sort of, obviously, we took all that experience at the start, and we're starting to pepper in a little bit of youth just to keep the team ticking over as well with Gabe Davis there. And we're really quickly back on the board. We got, Drew Lock sitting up there. Will he be the starter at Seattle? Who knows? We've got one tight end lurking there. Is Irv Smith Jr.
I think that is who we're going to take. Who is available at QB?
So let's have a look. QB, you got Drew Lock, Cam Newton, Tyler Taylor, Mitch Trubisky sitting there QB as well, and Marcus Mariota. Just obviously continue teams.
Yeah, we're going to ignore that. Irv Smith.
Irv Smith Jr. I think due for hopefully a big season. Did Minnesota sign another tight end in free agency? If I missed that, or is it just Irv Smith?
No, it's just Irv Smith.
Oh wow, that's only good for him, and hopefully he's fully recovered from that injury. It is obviously my fault that he got injured, because I went out and bought a load of shares of Irv Smith, and I think the next week is just this catastrophic season injury.
It's not going to happen. You'll be fine. I promise you.
Yeah, good. Yeah, he's on this team, and this team is the golden team. It's going to win easily.
That's exactly it.
So I'm feeling safer about Irv Smith now, as we're very quickly now back end of the the 14th round. I'll show you all the positions and see who we got. We got Kenyon Drake and Trey Sermon and Russell Gage sitting up at the top of the draft board.
And that's who we're taking.
Big
Absolute
Russ.
steal here. Oh, yeah, Russell Gage here is going to be an absolute steal in drafts this year. He's going to get a lot of work. So plug him in. He's good.
Let's get Russell Gage. You think he'll work well in the Tampa Bay offense?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think he was handpicked to play that third receiver role.
Yeah, absolutely love it. So Russell Gage coming in, playing with Tom Brady. How lucky! Wow, yeah, that can only be good for his dynasty value. So we're right back on here, round number 15, as Mitch Trubisky did come off along with Kenyon Drake, and here we go. Trey Sermon still there. You got some nice younger receivers like Van Jefferson, Marquez Callaway sitting there, as well as we have a cluster of tight ends poking up now. So anyone there standing out for you?
Let's look at our team.
Let's have a little look. So I'll show you position-wise, just so you can have a scout of what we're at. So you got 3 QBs, you got 4 running backs, you got 5 receivers and 2 tight ends.
So we're going to add Van Jefferson here.
Yeah, Van Jefferson, I think soon I'm going to total up all my guests and who they've picked, because I think Van Jefferson may well be the most selected player, because I think everyone sort of sees the value that he's got, and at this stage in round number 15, you gotta love having Van Jefferson.
Oh, absolutely, absolute steal here.
So we'll plug in Van Jefferson, and we're going to swing around again at the back end of round number 16, as we see players like Mike Davis coming off the board, and Zach Ertz, who looked pretty good at Arizona whenever he went, and Robert Tonyan, wow, coming off the board too. There's a bit of a tight end run.
And great, that's what we want to see.
Yeah, exactly. I love that whenever you see players you've got no interest coming off the boards, and you're just like, oh, I was never going to pick them anyway. It's always nice to see.
This is an interesting part now.
Yeah, my favorite part, the last sort of 3-4 rounds, always my favorite part. It's kind of where you get the most kind of insight, I think, into like upside for players is who gets picked here. So it could be the player like Marcus Mariota, or it could be like an older veteran, you're thinking.
Can you scroll down?
Yeah, of course. So people like Albert O popping up there.
Yeah, I think
it's more
that's
workload.
That's who we're gonna take here.
Yeah, Albert O, I think should be seeing a huge increase to his targets now over at Denver, now that Fant has left. And here we are with our penultimate pick. And Murf, I think you've absolutely smashed it so far. Let's take it home with the last 2 picks.
So this pick here, it's a tough one, because I wouldn't mind getting another back, but the only one here is of appeal is Gus Edwards. But do I really want to go down that route, or do I take?
You're just kind of waiting for Dobbins to get hurt a little bit with Gus Edwards, I feel.
Do you know what we're going to take Mariota here? Let's go for QB build.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah, I think that's great. And obviously, because you have Brady as well, you'll need someone else to fall back on should Brady retire at the end of the year. Then you've got Mariota, and if he smashes it, then he'll still be about as well. So,
and if not, he's roster fodder. He's someone that we can get off the roster quite quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. And here we go. We're about to go into our final pick of the draft, as we see some of these, absolute studs coming off the board, like Philip Lindsay and Gardner Minshew, just lining up the 18th round. And here we go. Tyler Conklin and Tariq Cohen, Brevin Jordan, Marlon Mack, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Nelson Aguilar, and our final pick.
DPJ was someone I was interested in. Got no interest in Cephas, got no interest in Brown. Samuel Sanders might not come back. John Brown hasn't got a team. I think
still up and down.
Yeah.
Or I can filter to certain positions if you're thinking, let's just take.
Let's look at running back.
Yeah, let's have a little look and see. We got Jamal Williams and Callum Hill and Jared Patterson as well sitting there. Darrell Williams looked pretty good, but then obviously Rojo signing might put an end to his share at Kansas City.
So scroll down a little bit more. Anyone here? We're going to take Jeff Wilson because there's not much. I know we're going to go with Jeff Wilson here.
Yeah, Jeff Wilson coming in, like he knows that system so well, and you never really know what's going to happen in San Francisco with the running backs as well. It seems to be hard to predict. Exactly. As Jeff Wilson was our last pick, and Kylan Hill was the final pick of the entire draft. So, Murf, I think you're going to like this. Let's have a little look at who we got. So, your quarterback room: Josh Allen, Tua, Tom Brady, and Marcus Mariota. Your running backs: Joe Mixon, Derrick Henry at the back end of the fourth. Amazing. Leonard Fournette, Cordero Patterson, and Jeff Wilson. And then the receivers, you got Cooper Kupp, Mike Evans, Chase Claypool, Gabriel Davis, Russell Gage, and Van Jefferson. And then 3 tight ends: Dawson Knox, Irv Smith Jr., and Albert O. How you feeling about that?
I didn't anticipate going 3 tight ends.
Well, here we are.
Here we are.
Yeah.
I'm delighted with that. I think it's a pretty strong team. I'll go with the battle with that team.
Yeah, I think you're certainly right. You took that sort of decision in, the back end of round 4 with Derrick Henry, and I like how you just stuck to that plan. Think, no, we have to, stick to that. And that, if I've ever seen a team ready to contend in Team 1, it's this one. So I think you've absolutely smashed it.
Well, thanks, mate. Well, yeah, I think it definitely fell kindly. I think in parts, I think we got some good value picks there. I'm pretty happy.
Amazing. So, well, we just want to say thank you once again for coming onto the show and giving us those amazing hints and tips, and showing us all how it's done with this fantastic team that you've drafted. So, just want to say, everyone, thank you so much for listening. If you've not subscribed or if you listened to, make sure you give it a follow and share this video if you've liked it as well. And just finally, just like to say, as the hot seat is cooling down a little bit now, just want all of you to remember that even though we're cooling down here, you and your team should always stay lit. And I'll see you next time.